Welcome. So, so in this lecture, we'll be moving to the next topic, which is virtual memory. It is related to the previous topic, that is memory management techniques that we have discussed, or you can say that it is a continuation of the memory management technique. Okay. So the topics we'll be discussing under virtual memory. So we can call this as virtual memory management. The topic we'll be discussing under virtual memory management is, so we'll start with the introduction or the background, why virtual memory is required and how it will benefit the performance of a computer system. And then we'll be discussing a concept called as demand paging, which is an extension of paging, which we have discussed in the previous chapter or the previous topic, memory management technique. So this demand paging is the heart of the virtual memory concept. Okay. So this entire chapter, actually it depends on demand paging. So if you are able to understand demand paging clearly, then it means that you understand what is virtual memory. Okay. And also you should be able to understand the difference between paging and demand paging. So these are the target of this particular topic. Okay. So if you could clearly differentiate what is paging and what is demand paging, how it differs, then it means that you have understood this concept. Okay. And then we'll be discussing a concept called copy on write. Okay, these are just related to demand paging. And then we'll be discussing a concept called as page replacement. Here we'll be discussing several page replacement algorithms. Some 3-4 page replacement algorithms we'll be discussing. So page replacement is something similar to swapping. Already we have discussed swapping. So swapping in the sense, the the operating system or the CPU will swap one process out of the main memory, and they will and it will swap some other process into the main memory. So that is called a swap out and swapping. So swapping is normally done on the entire process. But if you do swapping on a on certain page, that is called as page replacement. Okay, if you do page wise swapping, or if you, so page in the sense we use the term page in logical memory, but when you come to the actual physical memory it is frames. Okay, but here we are using the term page replacement, but actually it refers to the physical memory. So in a given process we will not be swapping the entire process, rather we may swap out one or two frames. Okay, and then we may swap in one or two other frames or pages. So that is called as page replacement. And what are the various page replacement algorithm is available and how one is efficient than other, these things we'll be discussing under page replacement techniques. And then we'll be discussing a concept called as allocation of frames. Yeah, again, as we know clearly that the logical memory is divided into set of equal sized partitions, which is called as pages, whereas the physical memory will also be divided into the same set of equal sized partitions, which is called as frames. Okay, so when a new process comes, how many frames should be allocated for that, and on what basis the frame should be allocated. Okay. When a new process comes, say operating system has X amount of empty frames, or say 10 empty frames. Out of these 10 frames, how many frames should be allocated for this new process? And on what basis it should be allocated? That we'll be discussing under the topic allocation of frames. And then we'll be discussing a concept called as thrashing. So thrashing basically discusses the limitation of, here limitation in the sense I don't mean, I'm not telling the drawback. No, no, what extent we can go with virtual memory, what is the limit of the virtual memory, to identify the boundary of virtual memory. uh, Actually thrashing helps us. Okay, so basically virtual memory increases the degree of parallelism, that is more number of processes can be executed simultaneously. But to what extent, how many processes you can have simultaneously, Can you have 10, 20 or 30 or what? Okay. So to what extent you can move? Maybe after 30 process parallelly getting executed, if you go for 31 on the process, the performance may degrade. Okay. But when there is 21, 29 process and 30 process, okay, from when you move from 29th process to 30th process executing parallelly, the performance may improve. But beyond 30, if you increase, then the performance may degrade. Okay, so that means that is the limit. So at this particular situation, this system can support 30 process parallelly. Okay, so at what point the performance degrades? So that is called as thrashing. Okay, so what is thrashing? All those things we'll discuss as the course proceeds. So these are the topics we'll be discussing, and the objective of the course is to explain, objective of this chapter is to explain what is virtual memory management system and what are the benefits and why should we use that. And then we'll be discussing the concepts like demand paging, page replacement algorithms, allocation of page frames and thrashing. Okay, so let us move into the chapter. So to start with the introduction, to execute any program, the program should be brought into the main memory. Until and unless the program is not in the memory, the program cannot be executed. Okay? This is known. This is a known fact. Okay. But there is a question. Should we bring the entire program to main memory, or is it enough to bring only a part of the program? So if you ask that question, actually it is not required to bring the entire program to the main memory. Whichever the part that will be executed at the moment, it is enough to bring that part to the main memory. Okay, so the entire virtual memory concept works on this principle, that is, you don't bring the entire program to the main memory when you are going to execute a program or a process. Bring only those pages, that are going to execute. Bring only those pages. So if you take a typical program, a program may contain the actual logic code. Other than that, it may also have some error code. Error code in the sense error handling code. That is, if this error occurs, do this. If this file is not there, do this. If you are unable to open this socket, do this. Such codes are called as error handling code. And also it may have some unusual routines which may not be always executed. It may have some routine which will be executed only 10 percentage of the time when you run the program, when you run that particular process. Most of the time that routine may be ignored or it may not be required. Or sometimes you may be using very large data structures where you will not be using the entire data structures. So these are some of the examples where where the part of the code will not be executed always. So in such cases, let us not bring that code to the main memory. Okay, why should not we bring that code? Because 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 that because because with partial program also, the partially loaded program also can be executed. As long as a particular page is not demanded, it is not required, let us not bring that to the main memory. Okay. By doing that, what happens in the sense, more and more process can stay at main memory. More and more process can stay at main memory, and also it it and also it decreases the constraints or the limitation of the physical memory. Okay, so if you say that the process can be executed even if it partially available in the memory, then what does it mean? We need not load the full program. If we just load a partial program, that is enough. So in that case, we can load more partial programs. We can load many partial programs rather than one full program. Okay. Assume the memory capacity is 4 GB. Assume the memory capacity is 4 GB, and we have a process that is 2 GB. Okay, we have a process that is 2 GB. Say you have another process that is also 2 GB. Say you have three process of 2 GB. Okay, so totally 6 GB. All the process size put together, it is 6 GB. But the main memory capacity is only 4 GB. But the main memory capacity is only 4 GB. In that case, what happens? You can bring only two processes to the main memory. If you are using, if you are loading the full process, okay. But if we load the partial process, say let us say that we are not loading full process, we are just loading only 0.5 GB of a process and we are executing, and when other pages are required, then only it will be loaded. In that case, what happens? All the three process can be loaded into the main memory. Process 1 can be loaded, process 2 can be loaded, and process 3 also can be loaded in the main memory, and still all these three process will occupy totally only, it will occupy only 1.5 GB of memory, because we are not loading the full program, we are loading only the partial program, okay, partial process. Whatever the pages required, only that we are loading. If some other pages in future required, that will be loaded by swapping, okay, that we will discuss later. So only 1.5 GB of 6 GB is used, so remaining 4.5 GB is available. Remaining 4.5 GB is available. Say if some other process P4, P5, P6 comes, that can be used by these remaining locations, okay. So what happens? Say if you load in this remaining 4.5, if you load other process P4, so if you give only 0.5 GB for each process, then in the remaining 4.5 GB, how many process you can load? In 1.5 GB, we are loading 3 process. Okay. So in remaining 4.5 GB, you can load 9 process. You can load 9 processes. Okay. That is we can load from P4 to P4 to P13, if I am not wrong. Okay. So totally you can load 9 processes. So totally you can load 9 plus 3, 12 processes, right? But initially, if you allocate the full, if you, I mean, if you bring the entire process into the main memory, then you can load only 2 processes. Okay. So this is the basic advantage of virtual memory system. Okay. So, so the programmer is no longer constrained by the limits of physical memory. In fact, the programmer need not worry about whether sufficient memory is available or not. Programmer feels that as if unlimited memory is available, because programmer sees only the virtual memory or the logical memory. Okay, and he starts bringing the process and he starts executing, and it is the job of the operating system to map the logical or the virtual memory with the actual physical memory. Okay. So by virtual memory concept, what happens in the sense, CPU utilization will increase and throughput also will increase. At the same time, response time and turnaround time will not decrease. Okay. Response time will not increase. Response time and turnaround time will not increase. Response time and turnaround time should not increase. That is our objective. We want to decrease response time. If you decrease response time, it means the program is executing fastly. Similarly, if you decrease turnaround time, it means the program is executing fastly. Whereas CPU utilization and throughput should be maximized. Okay. So with virtual memory, CPU utilization and throughput will increase and response time and turnaround time will not increase. Okay. And there is less swapping. If you bring entire process, then whenever you want to swap, also you want to swap the entire process, that will take long time, and that will unnecessarily, it will introduce heavy load on the CPU, and also it will take long time. Whereas now we are going to swap only few pages or 1 or 2 pages, not the entire process. So the swap time will be very less. So these are the advantage of using virtual memory. Okay, fine. So what is virtual memory? So basically, virtual memory, again, like how we have discussed previously in segmentation and paging, virtual memory also separates the logical memory from the physical memory. Virtual memory separates the logical memory from the physical memory. So user feels as if he is having unlimited memory, because user or the programmer sees only the logical memory, and based on the logical memory, they allow the process to be in the memory, and they start running the process, or they start coding. They need not worry about the real physical memory. And it is the job of the memory management unit of the operating system to map the logical memory to the physical memory. Okay. And this logical address space can be very much larger than the physical address space. So user feels that we have very large amount of memory, or the user or the programmer feels that we have very large amount of amount of memory, but in fact the memory may not be that much. In fact, the actual physical memory will be less compared to the logical address, but the memory management unit will do this mapping, and it will identify whether the requested page is available or not. If it is available, what should be done? If it is not available, what should be done? All those things will be taken care by memory management unit. Okay. So because of that, as the logical address space is very larger, more process can be executed simultaneously. Okay, more process can run concurrently. Okay, we use the term concurrently because one process is actually context switching. Okay, parallel in the sense you have more than one CPUs. And the load time or the swapping time of the process will also be less, because we are not going to swap the entire process, rather we are going to swap just few pages. What is virtual address space? What is virtual address space? So virtual address space is is something like a programmer's view of the memory. So the programmer here view the memory as a contiguous location. Programmer views the memory as a contiguous location starting from location 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. With respect to the programmer, the pages will be stored in contiguous locations. If this is page 1, then this will be page 2, and this will be page 3, and this will be page 4, and so on and so forth. Okay, but that may not be the case in the physical memory. Okay, this is similar to what we have already discussed. In the physical memory, the page 1 maybe so in the physical memory also divided into frames, okay, of equal size frames. Okay, so the page 1 of the physical memory may come in frame 3. Okay, whereas page 1 of the physical memory is in page 0, and page 2 need not immediately follow here. Page 2 may be in frame 1. Okay, and page 4 and page 3, sorry, page 3 may be in frame 0. Okay, and page 4 may be in frame 4. Okay, so like that, the real pages, really the particular pages may not be stored in a contiguous way, but in the virtual address space, the user feels or the programmer feels that they are stored in contiguous address locations starting from 0 until the end of the virtual address space. Okay, and it is the job of the memory management unit to map the logical address into physical address. Okay, so the physical memory, the memory is organized into page frames. That we know already. That is similar to whatever we have discussed in paging concept. Okay, right. Now, how virtual memory is implemented? Yeah, this is important. Virtual memory is implemented through the techniques called demand paging and demand segmentation. So here we'll be discussing only about demand paging. So in the last chapter, we have discussed paging. What is paging? We have discussed. Okay. So the only difference between paging and demand paging is the basic concept is same. That is, in paging and demand paging, we have logical memory and we have physical memory. Logical memory is divided into set of equal sized pages, and the physical memory is divided into set of equal sized frames. Okay, but with paging, what happens in this sense, whenever a process is loaded, the entire process will be loaded. That is, all its pages will be loaded into the logical memory, and obviously it will also be loaded into the physical memory. Okay, but demand paging, with demand paging, what happens in the sense, initially we will not load the entire process into the main memory. We will load only few pages. Say a particular process contains 100 pages. say a particular process contains 100 pages, P1 to P100. Okay, so you won't load all the 100 pages. You won't load all the 100 pages. Rather, I may load only the first 4 pages, P1, P2, P3, and P4. And that will be loaded contiguously in the logical memory, but in the physical memory it may be scattered somewhere else. Okay, so initially the operating system will execute only these pages unless and otherwise other pages were not demanded. Okay, so CPU will create the logical address, and that logical address will be converted to physical address, and then it will check whether the page is available or not. If it is available, it will execute. If it is not available, then what should be done? So that we'll be discussing in the course as the course proceeds. Okay, so the key takeaway is demand paging is similar to paging. The only difference is with paging, the entire process, whatever the page it occupies, if the entire process occupies 50 pages, all the 50 pages will be loaded into the logical memory and the virtual memory at the same time. Okay. Whereas with respect to in the logical, whereas with respect to demand paging, the page will be loaded into the main memory only when it is demanded. As long as it is not demanded, it will not be loaded. Fine. So this diagram will clearly explain how virtual memory and physical memory were related. So this is the virtual memory. So this is how the user or the programmer views the memory. The memory starts at location 0 and it continues up to the end of the virtual address space or logical address space. And there are pages were loaded into the virtual or the logical address space contiguously, like page 0, page 1, page 2, so on and so forth. Then we have this memory management unit. This memory map is nothing but MMU, memory management unit. So the memory management unit, what it does, it maps the logical address or the physical logical address or the virtual address to the physical address. Okay. So here, whatever may be the page 0, it may be coming here. Page 1 may be coming here. So the point is that virtual memory will be contiguous, whereas physical memory will not be contiguous. Okay. So it will not load all the pages. It will load some of the pages. Okay. If a page is not, if CPU is requesting for a page that is not available in the physical memory, then that will be retrieved from the disk. This is hard disk. This is hard disk. Okay. So it is not that all pages will be loaded at a time. No. First, only some few pages will be loaded. Maybe some, for a particular process, some 10 pages may be loaded or 7 pages may be loaded. These 7 pages will execute. And when other pages were demanded, then it will be loaded. Okay. So this is the brief view of virtual memory. So you can see the physical memory size is less when compared to the virtual memory. Okay. So the programmer feels that we have a huge amount of memory, but that may not be the fact. And the programmer need not worry about really how much memory is available, so how much memory should be allocated. All these things programmer can ignore. He can assume as if we have a very huge amount of memory, and he can just concentrate on his code, on his part. Okay. And then it is the job of the memory management unit to map the actual virtual address with the uh, physical address. So this is the view of the virtual address space for a single process. Okay. So in the virtual memory there may be more than one process. Maybe page 0 to page 10 may correspond to process 1. Some other, after that, some other process may, page 11 to page 20 may correspond to process 2. Okay, like that, it is not that virtual memory will contain only one process. It may have multiple processes. Okay. So this diagram shows for a single process, for one particular process, say a particular process P1. For this particular process, how the virtual address space looks like. Okay. For this process also, as we discussed, we will not load all the pages to the memory at a time. Only a part of the pages will be loaded. Still how that part of the pages looks like. So that it will have a stack, it will have a heap, it will have the data part, and it will have the code part. Okay. So this is something previously we have discussed, but that is with respect to the main memory. Okay, that is whenever a process is loaded into the memory, It will have code section, data section, stack section. Okay, but that is with respect to the physical memory. This is with respect to the virtual memory, right? So maybe here stack may contain some pages, 3 or 4 pages. Okay, heap may contain some pages, some 2 3 pages. Data segment may contain some 3 or 4 pages. Code segment may contain some number of pages. Okay, like that. Okay, so this is the virtual address space of one particular process. Okay, what is stack and what is heap? Heap is used for dynamic memory allocation. During the program execution, if new memory was allocated, that new memory uh, will be will be allocated from the heap memory. Okay, so heap is used for dynamic memory allocation. For example, in C, dynamic memory allocation is done using malloc and calloc. Okay, so it means initially the process needs only some x amount of memory, but during execution it may need some more amount of memory, which is x plus delta. So that delta amount of new memory that is dynamically allocated, so that will be allocated by the from the heap section. Okay, similarly, so what this diagram shows in the sense, heap may grow upward. So here the starting address is this. So initially, if for heap, say this is 100, from heap say 100 to 120 is allocated. During execution time, if more memory is required, then it may increase. Okay, heap will grow upwards. So if some more memory is allocated, it may go up to 130, right? And similarly, stack will grow downwards. Stack is mainly used for storing temporary values and for using function call and function return. So if there are more number of function calls than it is expected, say this initially some stack space is allocated. So this is max location. This is max location. Let us assume max location is 1000. Okay. So basically memory, it is numbered from bottom 0 to, so let us assume 900 to 1000 was initially allocated for stack. But say this location is this amount of address space is not sufficient, is not getting sufficient. So some more stack location is required. So then stack may also grow. So say some 50 locations extra needed, then stack will grow. But stack will grow downwards and heap will grow upwards. Okay. But this is not the actual physical address. This is the virtual address space for one particular process, how it will look like. Okay, that's what this diagram shows, right? And another thing is that uh, the virtual memory also, so this is called as whole. Initially, this is called as whole. Okay, so if uh, if heap and stack does not grows, then obviously these memory will not be required, so it will not be allocated. So initially it is not allocated. Okay, initially these pages will not be brought into the main memory. Only the pages corresponding to the minimum stack, minimum heap data and the code will be brought into the main memory. Depending on whether the heap or stack grows, then the respective pages will be brought into the main memory. So this part which is between the part of the virtual address memory or virtual address space between stack and heap, this part is called as holes. This part is called as holes. Okay, so so the virtual address space with holes is called a sparse address space. Okay. The virtual address space with holes, if a virtual address space contains holes, then that is called a sparse address space. Okay, that is called as sparse address space, right? Virtual address space with holes is called a sparse address space. Okay, and virtual address spaces also helps us to share the libraries, share the system libraries, and also memory can be shared for process communication. So what does it mean? It means that, say for example, there are two processes, P1 and P2. We are using the virtual address space. Okay, and both of these processes were referring to a library. Say the library is stdio.h. See, both these processes referring to the same library stdio.h. Then, then you don't want two copies of stdio.h. One copy of stdio.h is enough. So only one copy of stdio.h will be brought into the main memory. Okay. So this is main memory. This is the main memory or the physical memory. Okay. the left side and the right side, whatever is shown, that is the virtual address space for the respective process P0, P1 and P2. Okay. Now both of these processes are referring to the uh, stdio.h, which is a library. So you need not require two copies. One copy is enough. It is enough to have only one copy in the library, and both the process can share this. So that concept is called as shared library using virtual memory. So it's not only stdio.h, any library. So any library files can be shared like this. So this is also one of the advantage of virtual memory or virtual address space. Similarly, memory can be shared for process communication also, right? So this is the introduction or the background of virtual memory and virtual address space. Let us stop here and let us discuss the other things in the next lecture. Thank you.